everybody, so I don't trust the soul. The real ones ain't real no more, so I don't trust the code. Man, you already know what it is. Jay Williams, let's live life, and we're back. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I had a lot of people over, a lot of kids. Gotta love the kids. Not as much family as I would have wanted, but you know what? If you're at my house on Thanksgiving, you are family. It is what it is. So I've started a new series. Before we get into the purpose of today's video, I want to update you on something. I've started this new series I'm working on. It's so much work to do so little. But it's called Gangs, the New America. Where we're going to get into the original gangs. Who was the first gang? What was the first gang? What was it? Where did it come from? When? And from there, we're going to get into each gang, how it originated, and from that point up until today. Now, with my channel, with these prison stories, a lot of the content comes from the fact that there were so many gangs. There were so many gang members. They made a lot of the content, the stories, possible. Without them, the stories would have never happened. I saw this shift firsthand, just like a lot of guys did. Now, you got to think out west, LA, Midwest, Chicago. Gangs have been in the prisons and jails out there since, well, gangs started. It slowly migrated east and then south until it just completely covered America. With it coming into the jails and the prisons, it was a whole new level of violence. You used to seeing guys fight. Oh, you owe me some money? Boom, boom, boom. They fight. Oh, you lied on me? Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I'm having a bad day? Oh, boom, boom, boom. To now there's politics in play. We all thought we knew the rules. We've all been locked up. We know the do's and the don'ts when it comes to being incarcerated. But with the gangs coming into the system, they brought their rules. So now we've got to pay attention to the rules that come with being a convict. And we've got to pay attention to the rules that we don't even know exist, that you're going to find out exist. And you're probably going to find out the hard way. The gangs were infamous for attacking one another. You would see them go at other gangs at times, but that was not a very common thing. What was very common would be seeing one of them discipline one of their own. One of their own trying to get over and having to be dealt with. God knows how many of these stories I have when it comes to watching these guys attack their own. But I've got a lot. To be honest, I've barely started digging in the crates when it comes to all the different gang-related attacks. Today's video is on trust. Y'all heard the Boosie open and trust nobody. It's a sad look when you see somebody that actually trusted these guys, that put all their faith in these guys, and then they're getting stomped out. They're getting slapped, stabbed, spit on, kicked. And you see that look in their eyes of just disbelief, of hurt, of pain. They joined up for something thinking it was one thing. Along the lines, things got blurred. And that ends up with someone getting hurt. I've seen this time and time again. So that's what we're going to get into today. Trust nobody. At war with your own gang. When your gang turns on you. Do's and don'ts. Some of the reasons I've seen guys get attacked. And all the above. I'm also going to show y'all a quick snippet of the new series that's coming. Hope you enjoy. With all that being said, you know how to seen it, you know how to lived it, so let's relive.
How did something that was originally started with the intent of giving more to the oppressed, the poor, those with less, turn into what we know it as today? Nowadays, being in a gang is a status symbol, which leads to the entire purpose of the gang's existence being overlooked. You see it everywhere, from the neighborhood, schools, television, the jails and prisons, to pretty much every walk of life. North,
that
south.
Was a sneak peek into the new series that's about to drop. It takes a lot of work to put one of those videos together. This is one of those things that as I drop my regular content, I'll work on those videos in between. Let's get into the reason y'all came here today. And seeing the gangs coming to the prisons and the jails, we saw a new level of violence. We also saw guys that at one point were just claiming neighborhoods. Where you from? I'm from Southside. Where you from? I'm from Portsmouth. I'm from Virginia Beach. I'm from Tidewater. 7 cities. Tri-Cities. all these different areas that I relate to. Even areas I don't relate to, they all let you know where somebody's from. That's what it originally was. In the detention center, you'd ask somebody, where you from? You fast forward, and it's pretty much, what's your name? Why are you locked up? Nobody asks anymore really where you're from unless you become friends. First things first, you're going to find out whether that person is affiliated or not. When somebody doesn't come up and speak to you, and you see them walk in the room, and they kind of glance around, and then all of a sudden you see somebody throw out some hand signs or let out a call, and then that guy responds with a certain call, you know automatically in looking at him, he's a gang member. You know based off of his response and who he goes and talks to or who he kicks it with, who his gang is. Doesn't take long to pick up on these things, especially after being incarcerated. If it's your first day in there, this is a world you know nothing about. You're going to be like, what is that? What is that? I remember the first time I heard somebody make salat. It's a prayer, in the Islamic community. I didn't know what I was hearing. I was at a place called 55th and Pine in Philly, and I'm in the first cell. When you go on 55th and Pine, it's just a small jail with cells on one side and cells on the other, right? Not many cells. It might be 10 cells total, but they pack these cells full. I've been in one cell that had, I'm talking 15 to 20 people in there, and the max amount of people should be 5. But I remember learning something for the first time, which was what salat was. And this guy comes in, guys are constantly coming in. You stay there 72 hours at the most, and then you're going to get sent off to CFCF, Care from Home Correctional Facility. But I'm sitting on this bench. There's a dude laying in the floor, dope sick, done defecated, let all bowel movements go right on himself. The smell is just terrible. Dudes are rattling the bars. Turnkey. That's what they call the guard, turnkey, because he's the guy that turns the key. Turnkey, y'all need to come get him, man. Hey, you got this, man's funky and screaming, right? And then out of nowhere, I hear, Allahu Akbar. And it kind of gets quiet. Everyone in there went from yelling to being quiet. I didn't know what was going on. This guy was making prayer. And everyone stayed quiet until he finished. And then I asked somebody, I said, yo, what was that? It was new to me. It was beautiful. It was like, I don't know if it was the harmony in his voice, the fact that I didn't understand what was being said, but just the sudden outburst of harmony and prayer into this environment that's got guys screaming, yelling, this guy's smelling all bad, guards yelling back to us, they ain't doing nothing about it, and then this guy comes in and makes prayer. It changed everything. It was the first time I had ever heard that. Another guy told me, old boy down there is making salat. What's salat? I felt stupid. Now you got to remember, up until this point, most of my time had been done here in Virginia, which we don't have a large Muslim population, at least I thought at the time, like Philadelphia does. Then once I would get to prison here, I would already know what to expect. But that goes back to what I'm telling you. And going to prison or going into a jail and seeing the gang members interact and the call outs and different things, you're not going to know what's going on, just like I didn't know what was happening when that man was making salat until someone told me. I've seen so many different situations where the gangs either turned on one of their own, or this guy did something that was unacceptable and had to be dealt with. I've seen situations where dudes had this power struggle and didn't feel like they were happy with the position they had and they wanted more. So then they would step up and try to challenge somebody and then just get completely annihilated. But most times when somebody would get hurt, it would be because of something they did. It's usually behind them being sneaky. We got a dude named Polo. And anybody that's been up Greensville that's done a good amount of time or that is gang affiliated knows exactly who Polo is. Polo's not so much a loudmouth. He's not really a trouble starter. He's more of a laid back dude that if push comes to shove, the dude will rumble. I'd seen Polo rumble here, rumble there. I'd heard little stories about him. But he first caught my attention on the basketball court one day. Blood's playing basketball that day. So they got different sets, but they're all blood on the court. And prison ball is not like the NBA. No, it's not. Prison ball is, you're going to catch one of these. It's a lot of chest to chest, a lot of shoulder check-ins. I'm talking about, I've seen dudes trip each other. I've seen dudes punch each other. I've seen dudes just straight come across with an elbow. And it usually goes straight to whatever. But on this day in question, Polo was known for balling. I don't know if Polo boxed. He definitely, in watching him fight, it would make me think that he's not no just average fighter. He's not just the average dude you see in prison that throws fists. Just his stance, his position, the way he put his hands up, let me know that he had done some type of fighting in the past and had been in some type of gym or some type of trained environment. But you got all these bloods on the court, and they're playing full court basketball. Now you've got bounty hunters, you've got Brim Gang, you've got Nine Trey, you've got all these different sets that make up this full court basketball game. And Polo being a bigger dude, Polo's a good, I'd say it's solid 6'2", 6'3", maybe 220, 225, muscle bound, athletic build, definitely works out every day and smokes. Even the guys that work out and they would smoke cigarettes. Now you're talking 2008, 2009 time frame, right? When the gang violence really like just exploded into the penitentiaries full force. There's this dude from this other set that I don't know if him and Polo had words. I don't know if they had some type of internal beef or what it was. But his job was to cover Polo. Polo's job was to cover him. And this dude, you see it, boom, keeps checking Polo. Polo would come by and Polo would go up and do what, shove him or catch him in the chest with an elbow, to the point that eventually Polo would just drop the ball and turn around and was like, what's up? And before he could even fully, let the dude know, yo, what's up? I'm about to put hands on you, do that again. The dude backed up and squared off, and him and Polo went at it. Polo drags this dude. Like, dude didn't have a chance. He put his fist up, and no sooner he put his fist up, a punch slid right through the middle. Boop! Caught him in the face. He staggered back, lost his guard, and Polo just went to working him right on the court. Now you got all these other blood dudes from, like I said, different sets that come rushing the court to pull these two apart. Now, even though they're all blood, they're all different sets. They come together in times of war. They come together on just a day-to-day kick it. But if you want to be technical, when it boils down to it, that set and this set, they're not the same. Even though they both represent red, they both have certain laws they abide by, they are not the same. These guys rush the court to break these two up. And in the midst of them breaking these two up, other guys get to fighting. Dudes that aren't on Polo, in Polo's gang, reach out and grab Polo and try to pull him off old boy. And they don't rock with him like that. You don't kick it with him like that. So Polo's homeboys see them reaching out for him, and now it's boom, they take off on them. So now you've got a full-fledged gang fight right on the basketball court, which I'd seen quite a few of these. Me and Mark talked about one that popped off, but you've got guys from the sidelines, guys on the other side of the field. They're all running, trying to get to where their homeboys are at, because those are my dudes fighting on the court. You better show up, and if not, you're going to be dealt with. Where was you at when I was getting punched? Where was you at when they was, dudes are coming. Doesn't take long. The lady in the tower, it's a woman in the tower at that time, comes over the bullhorn. I guess she's already hit her microphone and called for the guards. And she comes over the loudspeaker, hits the alarm, does everything she's supposed to do from the tower. And guards commerce onto the yard. We all lay it down, laying in the dirt once again, watching everything happen. They don't lock Polo up. As the guards come onto the scene, Polo's already laid down. The lady started making announcements. He slid in with a crowd of dudes, and they laid down. Guards come on. Now, you've got guys that did have nothing to do with the original part of this fight popping off that are still going at it. They're the ones that would eventually get snatched up and taken to the hole. After they lock everybody up, we all go back in. Polo doesn't go to the hole. The guy he beat up doesn't go to the hole. He gets questioned. He says he got punched by somebody. He doesn't know what happened. He was playing basketball. He got punched. A lot of times they would lock you up and put you on an investigation, but because they had already locked up so many guys out there, there was no real reason to put him in the hole. Plus, you got to think, at any given moment, the hole is packed. This is a compound that holds over 3,000 people. And then you got the hole that holds a couple hundred people at most, maybe a couple hundred. They're only trying to lock up who they have to. So they only locked up the guys that they saw fighting. This is far from over, because now you've got these guys feeling some type of way, and you've got these guys feeling some type of way. Polo feels some type of way about dudes that were swinging on him while he was fighting with this dude. This dude feels some type of way because he just got his ass whooped in front of everybody. All the different gangs that are all part of one larger gang now feels some type of way because these dudes got their thing off. At the time, Polo's big homie is in 8 building. Polo was in 7 building, which means he does not even sleep in the same building as the guy that runs his set. This dude's not out there. These dudes go inside the building, tell him everything that transpired between Polo and yada, 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 and how all these dudes got locked up. This is bad for business. It's definitely bad for the gangs because they just lost a whole lot of their guys for no reason. So this is a bad look all the way around the board when it comes to being a blood. You can't be a war amongst yourselves when you've got all these other situations that are always unfolding. There's strength in numbers. They all need to be able to come together in case something else pops off in his yard, something else pops off in his prison, which something is always popping off. But now they can't do that because they're fighting with each other behind this fight that Polo got into on the basketball court. They send us in the building. We're not in there long, and they tell us to lock down. They come through, and they've got their little known snitches. And to make it seem like they don't know who's snitching, they'll go to every single cell. What did you see? We ain't see nothing. You was out there? Yeah, but we ain't see nothing. And they'll go cell to cell to cell until eventually somebody tells them something. Or somebody will just give them that look like, I'll let you know what's going on, but don't ask me nothing in front of my cellmate because he's going to tell on me. They come in and do their little thing. We don't stay on lock long. Isolated incident. They know where these guys come from, which buildings, between 7 building and lower 8. We share a yard. Following day, we come back out, right? We all think now that, all right, there's a gang war brewing. This is great. Everybody's going to get stabbed. Chaos is going to ensue. Go ahead, get on the phone, call your loved ones, get in the shower. If you ain't got much commissary, go borrow what you need to borrow. Things are about to get real. This is not going to go unanswered. Now, I don't like to say that I'm a nosy person. It's not who I am. But why lie? There were situations that I saw happen in prison that I wanted to see them play out. I wanted to know more. Also, in knowing more, it keeps me safe. When these type of things are going on, you don't want to be the guy that doesn't know what's going on, because by the time you find out what's going on, you might be caught in the middle and it might be too late. You want to know what's going on so you can prepare for what's to come next. I did not anticipate them letting us out on the yard the following morning. Did not see it happen. I've been through this so many times. The last thing they're going to do is let us out on the yard after they just had this huge rumble on the yard yesterday. Not going to happen. 7 build 100 pod. Prepare for outside wreck. Stand by for outside wreck. All our heads pop up like meerkats. They say stand by. Stand by for what? We all get ready to go outside. I grab my towel, my cup of ice. Out the back door as we go. I know that in going outside, there's going to be action. I know that in going out there, things are definitely going to pop off today. Doesn't take long, and you see all the gang members piling out this building. All the gang members piling out of my building from each pod. Each pod holding 86 men, 344 men a building, and these guys are flooding out. Now, you got to think 6 out of 10 men are gang-related in there. Guys that aren't even blood. Your GDs, your Crips, your MS-13s. All these different sets and gang members are coming out the building, and they're going according to where their gang is. So now you've got Brim Gang over here. You got 9 Trey over here. You got Bounty Hunters over here. You got all these different sets, Crips, GDs, you name it. Everybody's clicked up according to who they're with, right? Comes to a point where all these bloods are broken off into sections talking about what took place this day in particular. And the big homie comes from this set, goes over there, talks to that set, and then he leaves that set, walks over, talks to that set, and then he goes back to his set where Polo's standing. Meanwhile, you got the Duty Beat standing over there with his homeboys, and they're all feeling some type of way. I know this is going to end bad. I tell you guys, it always ends bad. It doesn't take long before he's been through all the different sets and talked to him. Meanwhile, all the other gang members are just kind of standing by quietly watching to see what they're going to do within their organization to handle this. They're going to see, y'all going to take care of this, or is this a sign of weakness? Have y'all gotten soft? Can we move on y'all? Or are you going to discipline your own? Because if you're not going to discipline your own, we're not going to listen to you. The big dude gets all these different sets, and they come together, and they go over beside the building. Crazy thing is, where everybody used to fight, my cell, I was in cell 120, which was the second to last cell. And right outside my cell window was the wall that everybody played handball. It was also where the door was. So even if I had stayed inside that day, I would have been able to watch everything that transpired just by looking out my cell window. They all mob and go over there. Now, this is a blind spot for the tower. The tower can see everybody heading in that direction, which is a lot of men. But she can't see what's actually going to transpire when they get in the corner. These guys get to talking, and now you're talking a large amount of men. Maybe upwards of somewhere between 70 to 100 guys, which is a lot of men congregated in this one section. There may be 3-4 minutes in their discussion, and I don't know what they're saying at the time, because that's gang politics. You don't go over there and stick your nose where it don't belong. Somebody turn around and ask you, what you doing here? Why you all over? You ain't got no business over here. Now you found yourself in a situation you don't want to be in. But no sooner than these guys get in the corner, and all these gangs come together to try to resolve this internal situation they got with their bloods, the guards emerge on the field. They come onto the yard, and they head straight to where they're at, and they tell them, disperse. Don't know what y'all got going on. Pretty sure it's related to what happened yesterday. Break it up and keep it moving. Do not congregate. Now, they brought 5-6 guards on the yard, which is not a lot, but it's enough to let you know they're not playing. The gangs, once again, split off into their little packs. They're now isolated from each other again. So now it gives them time to, after whatever was being said in that meeting, to regroup and speak on how they feel about what was just said. And obviously, guys weren't feeling whatever they were saying during that meeting. Now, the guards that came on the yard and broke everybody up, you're talking a couple rookies, a couple guards that nobody really messes with, but they were nobody that really had any authority. They allowed this group to just regroup. They allowed this big group to disperse, but didn't just go regroup into several small, large groups. This should only take place for a few minutes before we see the sergeant, lieutenants, unit managers go up to the gangs and tell them, maybe y'all aren't understanding what we're saying. Split up. We're not all congregating no more. No, you may not be standing over there 100 deep anymore, but now you're standing here 25 deep. Split up. You shouldn't be with no more than 2 or 3 guys. If y'all going to mob up as deep as y'all are, then we're going to take it as something's going on, and we're going to lock the yard down and put all y'all in the hole in the investigation. So now they force the gangs to, once again, they split from a big group into small groups, and split from the small groups into individual 2 to 3 guys. Polo's walking with 2 of his own boys, and the big guy's walking, the big guy being the big homie, the guy that calls the shots for that gang, is walking with 2 of the main dudes that are up underneath him. 2 other guys that oversee things when he's not around. So they're discussing amongst themselves now what to do about this Polo situation. That rec period ends. This is first thing in the morning. You're talking, that's from between 8:30 and 10:30 in the morning when all this transpires. We have night rec at this point in the game. So then we come out for lunch. It's the same shift. So convicts know if we try to do this again, them same guards are going to come onto the yard and they're going to break us up. So we'll let this play out until tonight comes around. We come out at after lunchtime. We do our afternoon rec. Everything's normal. I didn't really expect anything to pop off. Had it popped off right then there, I'd have been shocked, because it's kind of a dummy mission when you know you're being watched. But like I said, by the time night rec rolls around, well, the daytime shift has gone. So the guards that were dealing with that on the daytime, they're probably going to debrief the nighttime shift on what's going on, but they don't know the seriousness of the whole situation. Plus, the nighttime officers at this point in the game were much more laid back and much more relaxed than the daytime guards were. Now, the nighttime rolls around, and you've got a lot of guys that are angry. You've got your homeboy that you kick it with every single day, that knows everything about you. This dude is like a brother to you, and because of this situation on the basketball court, he's no longer around. Now, he's in the hole. Your ace Boone Coon is now locked up. So a lot of dudes were really looking for answers. They were looking for some type of, what are we going to do? Polo came at dude, but he fouled him. This is basketball. This is prison ball. It don't give him the right to run up and try to fight another blood. We don't do that. Your homeboy is wrong. He needs to be dealt with. We're hearing this all throughout the pods. We're hearing this whispering throughout the chow halls, how everybody is talking amongst themselves. Now, anytime they do talk to somebody of higher power, everybody's pointing the finger at Polo. When in reality, Polo had enough. He'd been fouled enough times. Ain't nobody calling the fouls. This is prison ball. Called foul for the elbow? You ain't bleeding. This is prison ball. You don't like it, go join the NBA. Go back to high school. Don't get locked up. Make bail, go home. Nighttime rolls around. Tensions are high. It's been almost 24 hours since this rumble. Then you've still got several of the guys that were involved in this big fight that didn't get locked up, but they watched their homeboys get locked up. This affected our numbers. Got everybody looking at us, and everybody's looking at Polo. Now, I would think from just based off of what I'd seen in the past, this dude's going to ride with Polo. It's part of his set. Falls up underneath him. He's put in work for them. He knows him personally, talks to him on a day-to-day basis. This is his dude. There's no way they're going to turn on Polo. But something's got to happen, or else it's going to be a full-fledged war. You're going to have a gang going at itself. How does a gang fight itself? Exactly how I told you. There's different sets within this gang. Night wreck rolls around. Everybody's expecting exactly what we know is going to hop off. Violence. There's going to be fighting. There's going to be stabbing. It's going down tonight. It's a new shift. These guards ain't here to stop it this time. Just go outside, make sure ain't no guards on the yard, and it's going to play out. First 30, 45 minutes, it's just like it was earlier that day. Everybody's squatted up. And I don't know if they had prearranged this, or when Big Dude and Polo and them headed over to the corner, they already just knew, follow suit. But I guess in watching, they knew. Okay, it's time to see what's going to happen. Are they going to deal with Polo, or do we all just go to war amongst ourselves? They're going to the corner. Polo gets his time to speak. He's got the dude that he rumbled standing there in front of him. Oh, you kept fouling me. You was doing it intentionally. You knew what you was doing, and you did it because you thought I wasn't going to do nothing. You ain't even know if I was going to fight. I turned around to check you on it, and before I could say anything, you threw your fist up. At the moment you put your fist up, yeah, I punched you in your shit. Yeah, I beat you up. You got in defense mode. We probably could have just talked about it. That was bullshit. Polo didn't turn around with no intentions of talking. He turned around with every intent of, all right, that's the last time you're going to foul me. Now I'm going to put some blood in your mouth and make you respect me and respect my gangster. They come to an agreement that I did not foresee taking place. You see all these gang members, once they come to an agreement, only dudes of a certain status are going to stay and watch. All the other dudes are going to kind of fall back to keep from drawing attention. The dude that Polo got to fighting with stays. A couple dudes from that dude's set stay. A couple dudes from this set that were involved stay. A couple dudes from this set that were involved stay. And then you got the bigger homie standing there. So now it's went from all these gangs, or this mass of men standing there waiting to see what the outcome is, to guys that have peeled off, but they haven't gone far. You've got a whole group of guys standing 30 feet over here, 30 feet over here, guys standing by the bleachers, guys standing over by the basketball courts, and they're trying not to, like convicts do, draw any attention to what's going on. You just kind of look around, laugh, and joke like it, but the whole time your eyes are cutting that area, watching what's going to take place. The guy that Polo got to fighting with, and two of his homeboys, were the ones that violated Polo. The big homie said, to stop all this, you're right. Polo shouldn't have went at you. Polo shouldn't have took things into his own hands. We don't fight internally. At first, they had their hands full. They went at Polo, and the dude that Polo had already trashed, he would not be the first one to strike. He'd already felt the wrath of what that man's fist felt like. The signs of it was all over his face. He's standing there looking like Mr. Willie Lump, like Sammy's sausage head all beat up. He ain't gonna run face first into another one of them punches. But his homeboy that was with him, that's a bigger dude, runs up on Polo, swings, and Polo does what he did with the first dude the day before. He squares off, goes to rumble with him, and at that time, the other two dudes moving it, boom, and start hitting him. Now they're coming at from each way. Polo backs up to the wall, squares off, and it doesn't take long before The exact same thing that happened to me in the beginning of my bid happens to Polo. They smashed Polo. They got him up against the wall, and all he can do is kind of just bend over and block his face as they're hitting him and hitting him and hitting him. Certain amount of time went by, and the big dude was like, all right, chill. And he pulled the guys back. He just allowed guys that, I guess you could say are from the same gang, but are from a different set, to run a violation on one of his people, which I had never seen in all my years of being in prison. If he was going to be dealt with, his set was supposed to deal with him. That's why I say things get funky when you look at the West Coast and you look at the East Coast and the politics and how things run. And it makes me question a lot of times if these gangs are even real. Because in talking to people, since I've been out, talking to people through YouTube, me telling them this story, they're saying that would have never happened on the West Coast. Nah, ain't nobody from no other set. I don't care what color they rocking, what star they rocking. They're not going to violate one of ours. But he allowed this other set to violate Polo. They beat the dog shit out of Polo. Polo, after about the first 15 seconds, which is an eternity when you're fighting three people. Say what you want, but if you've ever fought three people, 15 seconds feels like an hour. After the first 15 seconds, and he got his thing off for a minute, they overpowered him. Put knots all on his head, beat him all upside his face. And that right there was what stopped the war amongst all the Bloods. That stopped everybody else from retaliating because everybody felt as if the situation was taken care of. We go in the building, and like I told you, this next shift is going to be debriefed. As we're going in, they're checking guys, looking at guys, watching them. And here comes Polo, blood in his nostrils, blood on the side of his eye. You can see where he's tried to clean it, but it's caked up underneath his eyelid. And they grab him out of the line of guys, turn him around, put him in handcuffs, and they take him off to the hole under investigation for fighting. And that would be the last time I saw Polo. Was Polo wrong in this ordeal for standing up for himself? He did what I would expect anybody to do if somebody kept putting hands on you. But like I said, you play by a different set of rules when you're in these gangs. Do I think dudes should have let guys that weren't of that set jumping? No. But at the same time, as an outsider looking in, would I rather put hands on my homeboy or stand by and watch somebody else put hands on my homeboy? That's a tough question to ask. When you care about somebody, you love somebody, you rock with somebody, the last thing you ever want to do is cause them any physical pain. And even worse than that is standing by and watching somebody else cause them physical pain. But that's exactly what happened. This is one of those situations where I could say knives didn't come into play. They weren't going to stab each other on this day. I can guarantee you there was a whole lot of knives out there. A whole lot of men strapped up waiting for this war to pop off because it was supposed to become a war. But the big homie, I guess he did what he knew to do. He had Polo handled. And all Polo did was handle his business. But this is what you can expect when it comes to being locked up and gangbanging. This is what you can expect when you sign on to this family. Those are my brothers. I wonder what he was thinking as he was standing there being beat. I wonder when he signed up for this, did he foresee a day where dudes from another set would beat him up while his set stood by and watched? I don't think he did. I think what they should have done is, since this dude and Polo had an issue, they should have let them two run it. But the other gang wasn't feeling the fact that A, Polo put hands on him, and B, he moved, I guess, on what you could say was one of their own. I'm glad to be out of that environment. I tell these stories, my heart gets to beating fast, my hands get all clammy and sweaty. I can smell that dusty track again. I can feel the tension in the air, the animosity, standing there looking, watching, just, this can't be life, man. This cannot be what I've done to my life. I had it all. I had a son, I had a job, my freedom, all these options in life. And look at me now. Standing on a prison rec yard, watching gang members beat each other up. Hoping that somebody don't lose their life behind this. Hoping that we don't get locked down. Because being out on this yard is the most freedom I'm going to get while being locked up. Being able to step outside, look up at that blue sky is the most freedom I'm going to get while being locked up. But at any given moment, you are held accountable for everything that everybody else does around you. It's corporal punishment. If one guy does something wrong, we all fall. I have nothing to do with gang politics, but if they decide to kill each other, I might spend the next month locked in my cell, not see my family. Might have a sick family member that's on their last leg that's got to come see me this weekend. Might be my last chance to see them because of what these guys got going on. I might not get to say goodbye. I hope y'all enjoyed today's video on the story of Polo and him getting violated by another set that it's complicated. I enjoy getting these things off my chest. I enjoy sharing these things with you guys. And I do hope that my videos can be what keeps one of you out of lockup. You can walk in my shoes without ever having to walk in my shoes. You can see through my eyes without ever having to be there. That's the purpose in all this. Y'all stay tuned for the new series coming. Gangs, the New America. Y'all are going to love this. We're going to get into the history, the background. I'm talking, we're going back to 16, 17, 1800s. Do you know who the 40 Thieves are? Most of y'all don't. A lot of guys that are watching this right now are gang related and couldn't say who the 40 Thieves are. A lot of guys watching this right now are gonna, if you ask them where the first gang came from, their answer is gonna be completely wrong because all they know is what they're told. Guys don't really know why gangs started, where they originated, what the first gang was. Who was it? I've looked, I've dug, I went deep in the crates for this series, and each week we're gonna cover another gang, how it started, and we're gonna go through events that are taking place up until where that gang stands today. But anyways, these jails, detention centers, these prisons, these rec yards, they're all just crazy world inside of a already crazy world we live in. And as always, y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And like always, this is Jay Williams. Let's live life. And to all my real ones, and there are some real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. Man, y'all know how we do. Salute. Stay tuned.